What is happening? Good morning, Syndicate. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. It is time to get back into action. And we have a new show for you. So we're going to kick this show off today. I mean, truthfully, I guess you could say I kicked this show off a few weeks ago when I was doing my training modules on Medicare stuff. But we are now having a dedicated Tuesday show, 9 a.m. Central every week in the Insurance Syndicate Live that's on Tuesday trainings. So this is going to be specifically actionable content that you can take out in the field, take into your business, put it in place, and help you improve your skill set, help you improve your business, help you propel things a little faster. So week after week, I'm going to be bringing on different guests that are experts in areas of the industry. We'll talk to people that are fantastic at P&C, maybe certain aspects of P&C, whether it be trucking or commercial or auto home, certain things. We'll talk to people that are phenomenal in the life insurance space, mortgage protection, final expense, advanced markets. We'll talk to more Medicare people other than myself, ACA and health insurance people. I will tell you, I've got some fantastic guests already lined up in the works for this show. But again, Tuesday is dedicated to actionable content. So this is the one that you're definitely going to want to bring your notepads for when you sit down and listen to the experts that are on here, because they are going to give you tips that you can immediately take out and help you make more money, right? Help you propel your business, grow your business. And we do have an outstanding guest today. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background on him, his name is Jeremiah Tacker. He is the president and agency owner of the Personal Producer Network out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Guy's been in the business for like 15 years. He's a life insurance expert. As a matter of fact, he spent 10 years working with Transamerica as one of their virtual sales directors, helping agents grow their business. He's worked as an independent agent and now runs his own wholesale agency out there as an FMO. So we're going to bring him on, chat with him a little bit, and then we're going to turn it over to him. He's got some life insurance tips for you guys to help you improve your client engagement, well, and help you get on the space to writing $100K or more in insurance premium. And that always sounds like good stuff, right? So let's get him on real quick. Mr. Jeremiah Tacker, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, Tony. How are you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic, man. How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was exhausting, man. Kids were running around, had plenty to do, honey-to-do list. Football started, so a lot going on. But ready to get back at it today, man, as always.
Yeah. You know, the holidays are great, but it's time to get back in action. We've only got 4 days this week. So definitely today is a good day to kick it off. And I'm excited for this new show. I appreciate you being our first guest. I know you've asked me a few times in different ways to get involved, and I couldn't think of a better way for you to get involved here, because I know you have a ton of great information to share with us on the life insurance space. Like, this is your thing. So just a couple of quick announcements before we do kick this thing off a little further. Feel free to ask Jeremiah any questions that you guys have as he goes through his talk and kind of gets onto you guys with some of the different tips he's going to throw down. Drop your comments in. And of course, let StreamYard view your comments on Facebook. That way we know who you are, right? Otherwise, we're not going to know who you are. Or let Facebook view your StreamYard comments, I should say. But man, I mentioned you've been in the business for 15 years, right? And then 10 years as a Transamerica virtual sales director. I know you're going to be talking a little bit about final expense today, right?
Yes, sir.
Has that always kind of been your space, final expense?
It hasn't. Actually, when I got into the industry, it was more term living benefits, and IUL was actually my go-to just because of my age, the age of my friends, the age of people that I hung out with. Those were the products that just kind of fell into my lap in most cases. When I started talking about insurance, people were asking about mortgage protection or how can they start retirement, those types of things. So final expense was not how I originally got in, but it is a big part of what I do now, just because of the amount of clients that are out there and that need help with that type of coverage, and that may be delayed or didn't know that they had this opportunity to be able to have that type of coverage to be able to cover their family's financial burden when they do pass. So
Understood. Well, tell you what, guys, I want y'all to buckle up. We're going to turn this over to Jeremiah. I'm going to hop in the background to run the comments and questions, and Jeremiah's going to drop some knowledge and train you guys again on some tips to help you improve your client engagement and get a little further on to writing $100K in life insurance premium. So, Jeremiah, with that said, buddy, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. I just want to say thank you to Joe and Tony for letting me join today. A lot of pressure to be the first one, I guess, first deal for the Tuesday, from what Tony said. So a lot of pressure, but I'll I'll try to make it beneficial for you guys. And this is something I've been doing for a long time. I'm very passionate about. I've had a lot of experience in this, and I'm more than happy to share it. I think that's one of the coolest things, is to be able to help others. So getting kicked off into this, we're going to start after you've already bought your leads, you've already contacted the client, you've already set your appointment. This is where I'm going to go into when you're able to get into the home and you're able to sit in front of the client. This is where I'm going to start with from that standpoint. So I know there's plenty of other things that we could talk about. I got a short amount of time and want to kind of give you guys, because that sometimes, there's different levels of this, what can be hard, what can be easy. And I think there's, getting the leads, getting them called, setting the appointments, it all takes some specific talent. And, I have a short amount of time today. So I really feel like I want to focus on what you do when you get in the home. So today, like when you get in the home, what I like to do initially, and this can be, again, for on the phone, this can be in the home. I do a lot of both. So I have experience in both. I did a lot of in the home when I first came on board. Now I try to do more on the phone, just as it's easier, it's faster. I can do it in more states. I can reach out to more clients. There's just more opportunities there doing it on the phone, but it does take a little bit of a specific skill to be able to set that. And so again, those are things that, others can come on, I can come back on and talk about it. I'm more than happy to do that as well. But today we're going to talk about getting in the home or setting the appointment on the phone, getting in and talking. So first thing I like to do is warm up. You really want to engage with the client. You have to understand, where they're coming from. And the first thing I like to do when I get in and I'm talking to them, I introduce myself. And the first thing I do is make sure that we're sitting at a kitchen table. Excuse me. I do not like to sit in living rooms, on recliners, on couches. I want my clients to be comfortable, but not too comfortable. I don't want them getting laid back in their recliner, falling asleep. I don't want them thinking about, oh man, I could be laying here watching TV. I could be doing this or doing that. I want to keep their mind focused on what we're doing. So the first thing I like to do is, even if they ask, let's take this to the kitchen table. They'll be comfortable, but not too comfortable, or they're going to, again, fall asleep, want to watch TV, want to do other stuff. So where they're completely engaged, all you have in front of them is they're looking at you, you're looking back at them, sitting right across from them, and you have the information that you need in front of you. And the first thing I like to show them is this little nugget right here. I don't know if you guys can quite read that. I'm going to try to put it as close as I can, but I'll show it to you here just so you guys can have it. But it lists everything. So it starts out listing, you put your name, your phone number, your address if you want to. I don't normally do that. And I put my email down. And then I hand it to them. It has a checklist of all the products, and some of them I don't even offer. There's life insurance, there's annuities, there's long-term care, there's disability plans, dental, employee benefits, business owner stuff. It's a list of things that either I can help out with, or to make sure they stay engaged with me after this appointment and so on in the future, is that if they have any questions about this, they're going to reach out to me. Not saying that I can help out with maybe some of that, but at least they're engaging with me so that I can maybe introduce them to someone that I trust, that I know that can get that thing done for them. Maybe like long-term care. I don't really do long-term care. So I would find, if they reached out to me and said, hey, I'm looking for long-term care, I may reach out to one of my partners, friends, agents, whatever, maybe Tony, no, just kidding, and try to find someone that can help them with long-term care, that type of thing. But it always keeps them engaged with me. They have my name, my phone number, my email there. They have a checklist of what I can do or what I can help out with. And I always staple or clip my business card to it as well, and tell them to keep this on their fridge. Tell them to clip it to their fridge, make sure they put it on there, and if they need anything, to call me. And then I ask them, right there, we kind of talk about some of those items as well. I go through it, really review it, tell them what I can kind of help with, what I can introduce them to others to help out with, and go from there. So that is something that I jump out and step out with right away into the appointment. It kind of gets the engagement flowing, gets us talking about life insurance, get it talking about some type of insurance, gets us engaging, them asking questions sometimes, and me able to kind of get warmed up to the client a little bit. A couple things that I do when I step into the home, after this, before I show the next page that I usually show the clients is, I started the conversation out with, I'm glad that you decided to sit down with me today. Obviously, you know what it means to protect your family. In some type, in case of an unforeseen incident, from the financial burden that it can cause on that time. So, I share that with them to tell, kind of applaud them for being like, yeah, I'm glad that you got a hold of me and you understand what this means and why we're here today, really. Then I ask them to tell me about their family. I try to engage with them a little bit, kind of figure out what, how their family, if they have any children, if they have any grandchildren, talk about pets. Again, just relate to them a little bit. Again, it helps me understand what other clients may be a possibility with them. If I can help them and get them into something they're happy with, what other opportunities do I have within their family or friends, or, what do they do for a living? What are they have any favorite sports teams? Do they like any? Just engage. Again, continue to engage, get them talking. Again, you want to have this be more of a conversation than you just speaking to them. All they're thinking, if you're talking, is, why is this guy here? What else I could be doing? But if you get them engaging with you, it allows them to stay away from, I got this yard work to do, or I got these dishes, or I got to go here today. I got to buy a present for my nephew for his birthday today. It gets them thinking away from that. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink here. So it keeps them engaged, keeps their mindset on what you're there to do. And I try to relate to them in multiple ways. Like I said, I will talk to them about some of the experiences that I have. Sometimes I do this in the beginning, depending on the vibe I'm getting. Sometimes I'll wait till the end because it can be a deal breaker. I've shared, I think if you watch my YouTube video with Cody Askins, I share that, my father passed away when I was 8. My father left 3 children behind with very little life insurance. Because of the way he passed away, there was a lawsuit, and we were able to get money from that, which helped out in addition to our life insurance. But that really affected my family. So, that's when I go back to, I applaud you for seeing this beforehand and making this a priority to set this up. And like I said, sometimes I set that in the beginning, depending on how they're engaging. If they're engaging and talking and that, if they're not, I might bring that into the play, or, if they are engaging, I may save it till later. If they come with a rebuttal or something, I can use that to share with them an experience that might pull that heartstrings a little bit, and understand why they really need this coverage and why it's important. Because it was very important to me. We had to move out of our house. About we were in our house for a while, but we had to move out of our house probably maybe a year. I think the year I graduated, we moved out of our house that we've lived in for all of our life. So we had to move out because we couldn't afford the rent, or couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. We had to downsize a little bit. And so that's because of that reason, because of the fact that my dad didn't have enough life insurance. It's not his fault. It was just something that maybe wasn't presented to him. He didn't quite think about, thought he had enough, blah, blah, blah. Maybe somebody told him he had enough and it wasn't there. So thankfully we had the lawsuit stuff from it, and it was able to carry us. But eventually ran out. And that's what we want to help these clients to, make sure that doesn't happen to their families. So, then the how I get started into this is then again, right after all those things, I jump into Mr. and Mrs. Jones, or Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones. Why am I here? And that's something I may ask, I may not. Again, it depends on the engagement. It depends on the answers to some of their questions. It depends on some of those things, but you kind of got to, this is kind of a read and go type of deal. I'm going to give you a lot of actionable content to take into. You got to decide and learn when to use it. And really, if they're not engaging with you, again, you need to, why am I here? That way you can hear from them why they think you're here. And then, now, if they, once they tell you that answer, how not creative, but I guess how intense you have to be. Are you going to have to sell this? Is this going to be a tough sale? We've all been there. They're not always easy. Actually, more than 75% of them are not easy. Life insurance is not the easiest thing to sell, no matter who tells you what. It's not. It takes practice. It takes doing this stuff with your spouse, with your fellow agents, with family members, whatever. I mean, it takes practice to do this stuff. And why am I here? And you're here to help us, take out a policy. So when we pass away, our family is not burdened with that stress. And great. I'm glad that you said that, because yes, it can be very stressful, trying to take care of all the matters that go along with you passing, unfortunately, this would be one that could take a huge stress relief off of them, to know that a funeral can be planned, know that they have things taken care of, to, move things out of the house if they need to take care of the house, to help out with different things that need to be done. Maybe if there's any debt on the table, all those things. So it does create an engagement with them to know why you're here. So that is another question that I always ask before I get started as well. And again, depending on how the conversation is going, if it's going well, I move right in, to my next step, which is this. So this shares funeral and cremation costs. This is, again, gets them thinking again about why we're here. We're here for funeral, cremation costs. I set this out in front of them. This actually labels out the median cost. This is from 2021, by the way, but it puts out a median cost of a funeral and a cremation. So you can start out with asking them, have you thought about, which one that you want to do? Are you going to be buried in a casket, or are you going to be cremated? Here is the median cost of these. It says right here, a median cost of a funeral with plot is just about $10,600 back in 2021. So it's only a year old, probably hasn't gone up much. The cost of cremation is probably a little over $8,500. So you have a starting point too. Now where you need to start as well. If they say I want to be buried in a casket, great. Okay, we know where we're going to start then. And then I ask them, it has basic service fees, transfer of remains, embalming, cosmetic services. I ask them, some of these things like memorial media and flowers and a grave marker and casket, those types of, it gives you the cost of those things. So then I ask them, out of these services, which ones do you want to have? Which ones do you see yourself having? Because then it gives me an idea. It might be less than 10,000. It might be more than 10, or it might be more than 10,000. I mean, this is a median cost, guys. So this is our starting point for where we want to be. This is probably the median of where we want to put them, the middle, and I'll get to that in a second. But this is where you talk to them about which ones they want to have, and then and this helps put a cost-effective plan together, so they're not spending too much, not spending too little. They can cover. Then we go into some other things as far as do you have any debt? Do you have any of those things? And that's just your basic burial sheet. There is a fact-finding sheet that I also use as well. That gets more advanced, that talks about 401k. It talks about investments, estate, insurance, Social Security, and all those things. That gets more advanced on what type, if they have any term coverage, if they have any other coverages, any investments that they're in, what they have in their bank account for savings, all these things. It gets more advanced, but this is a quick little final expense piece as well. So that you can, again, engage with them, get them thinking about it, get them in the process of doing that, and figuring out a price that it's going to cost, where your median cost is going to be when you run that quote. Then I get into some of the benefit. I talk about obviously the carriers and the products and that, and I have a few I go into. I'm not going to go into that today, but I have a few I direct them to depending on health history. We start asking those questions. You go through that fun stuff. Today I want to engage in more actionable stuff, talking about products, talking about carriers, talking about health history. That's all something we have to do. That's all something you should know right off the first bat. If your mentor doesn't explain that stuff to you, you need to find a new mentor for one, because that's stuff you need to know right off the bat. This stuff is different. This stuff is added to stuff that I've done for a long time. And again, this basic layout is what I've used for the primarily my time in the career industry or in the insurance industry. A few things I've added, like the first thing that I showed you was one thing I just recently added not too long ago. The funeral cremation cost is something I've used for a long time. It just, again, it helps engage. So after I talk about health history, products, and all that stuff, then I get into some of the benefits of the life insurance policy they're getting into. So we're going to work with final expense today, and I'll talk about a little bit others. But I talk about final expense and it being the death benefit is level. There's no increase, there's no decrease. It stays that way for the life of your policy. So, sometimes I engage with like a coverage lock or something like that, but death benefit stays level through the life of the policy. And it works with term. So if some of you guys are on that work with term, it work with some whole life policies, those can increase. So you talk about that. IULs can increase, things like that. You talk about life insurance, your final expense and term that pretty much stay the same. And, depending on what I'm talking about, final expense, I'll talk about a term, I'll talk about the different lengths of term, but it stays level through those lengths of term, and they can buy an annual renewable after that if they want, but it does increase and get really expensive. And talk about whole life, standalone whole life, IULs, if I get into that and how those can increase and things. But that's a different conversation altogether when you get into that type of stuff. A little more explaining, a little more nuts and bolts to it than just a basic term or final expense, because that's kind of what we roll with is more of the simplified issue stuff. So again, I do have experience with the IUL and whole life, but that can take us on a path that I could spend a whole hour talking about those products alone. So I explained that. And again, guys, when I do this, I'm writing this stuff down. I'm writing it down, I'm explaining it to them, and I'm asking them for questions, and I'm asking questions to them. Like, does this sound good? Like the first thing I want to go, have benefits to this life insurance policy. Can I share this with you? Yes. It starts to get them to say yes. That's what we want. We want to get them to be acclimated in saying the word yes. So when I present these, hey, we've picked out a policy. We started to go, let me share some benefits with you of this policy. Here it is. Here are these benefits. Can I share them with you? Yes. Then I talk about the death benefit being level as we're talking about final expense today. Then I go into premiums. Premiums are level across the board as well. The premiums will never go up. They will never change. Specifically for term and final expense, they never change. They're always the same. Final expense is going to be for as long as you live. So as long as you pay the premiums, as long as that policy is active, the premiums will stay the same. Term, again, it's a level term premiums for that length of time the term is. It could be 10, could be 15, 20, 25, 30. I recently, honestly, I didn't even know that they had a 35 and 40-year term out there. I was not for too long ago. That just proves there's always something you can learn every day. So join as many of these, talk to as many agents as you can. There's always something you can learn every day, no matter how long you're in this industry. And I just recently learned that there are 35 and 40-year length terms, which is crazy. Did not know that until about a year ago almost. So, but that lock, and then with that, is that a benefit that's important to you, that the premiums don't go up, they don't change, they stay the same? Yes, that's very important. Okay, great. I'm glad that's important to you, because that's what we're going to set you up with today. Something that you'll never have to really touch again. As far as premiums, they'll never change. It'll automatically come out, and you'll have coverage for you and your family. And Med Sup too. You can take it into the Med Sup world as well. And understand, if you talk about Med Advantage, obviously there's no premiums. Talk about Med Sup, there's a premium, and that then you talk about the changes in the premiums that can happen. So every year rates change. There might be changes in premium. You might need to go to a different plan, that type of thing. IULs and standalone whole lives can be same as well. The insurance can go up, the coverage can go up, the premiums can change depending on rates, all that stuff. So there is some differences in what you're selling to the client to make sure that you make them aware of, so that And when you talk about a price lock, you can't really do that. You have to find out if that's important to them, or that they're okay with the premiums maybe changing down the road. but you're going to try to set it up maybe with a different IUL or a different other policy that doesn't do that. So, but make sure they're aware of that. The premiums never change. So that, and make sure that's important to them. Again, yes, that's important to me that the premiums never change. Again, another yes. We want to make sure that they're saying yes all the time. Next we get into, I talk about some of the riders and additional benefits. It might be, if you're selling med sup, it might be a dental plan, a vision plan, a cancer plan, it might be something like that. And if you're talking a term, might be a children's rider that you add in the policy. If you're talking final expense, might be a nursing home rider or accidental death benefit rider. Might be some of those that they have on their grandchildren and children rider. Those are huge. I think the nursing home rider, the grandchildren and children's rider are always big ones. Again, they're super cheap, but again, it adds to your premium. I mean, it benefits them. So you're not overselling or anything like that. You're giving them something they need, and you're just offering these up to them. And if that's important to them, again, would you agree this benefit would help you? Yes or no. I mean, it might be a no this time, but yes, would that benefit help you to cover your grandchildren or children for $5,000? Would it help you to have an accident rider in case you fall or in case you hurt yourself, or different thing, or in case you die? If there's a terminal illness rider on there, in case you pass away unexpectedly, those types of things, accidental death. If you pass away unexpectedly from an accident, would it help for your family to get double the indemnity if that happened? So would that benefit you? Again, we're trying to get yeses out of them. And some of these maybe no, guys. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing is. This is not going to be the perfect deal. This is what's worked for me. And there's going to be several ways. I mean, I've talked to several different agents that do it different ways, and this is what's worked for me. So I want to share it today, and this will be something you can put with something you're doing that's currently maybe working or maybe not working as well, and maybe add something to it that might help it work. So I hope that's the case in some of these cases. But there are some things that I'll share a little bit later that might add to this as well. So again, next thing we talk about is, if you're in a policy that builds cash value. So final expense does actually build cash value, for those of you that may not know that. It's really something that you can only use in a certain situation, which is a paid up policy. That's the only, and that's something I talk about. If you're talking about IULs, you can talk about cash value, how they can use it for retirement, a whole life, maybe some dividends or some cash value in there. You might be able to use it in there as well for certain things. But speaking of just final expense term, you don't have any cash value. So term, there's nothing in there for you unless you do a ROP, and you can kind of talk about the value of return of premium on a term, which basically gives them their money back, all their premiums back, if they outlive the term coverage, which can sometimes be good. It can be a little expensive, so it may not fit in their budget. But with a final expense specifically, you're talking about paid up, and you can always tell them, put this policy in place now. It will grow cash value. The one benefit to it is that it will grow cash value where you can take a paid up addition. So if you ever, lose your job, or you ever retire and can't afford the premiums, or something happens where you can't afford the premiums anymore, give me a call. Don't just cancel the policy, specifically in this situation, because of the fact that there's a paid up option. So all the money that you've put in is kind of built up a little bit of cash value, and you're not going to be able to get the same death benefit that you have now, but you'll be able to get maybe a lower death benefit, and it'll be paid up. So guess what? You'll be able to use this paid up addition and say, I want to take the $16,000 in cash value I have, buy myself, take myself from a $40,000 life insurance policy down to a $20,000 life insurance policy. It's paid up. Now I have a $20,000 life insurance policy for the rest of my life. I have to pay no more premiums. I have it there until I pass away. And that's something that's a benefit. Clients do not know that. That's probably the biggest thing that I would tell a client about final expense, is that right there. Because you don't know how many of these guys are just going to cancel this policy without even talking to you, because they don't want to keep it anymore. They don't want you to sell them anymore. They don't want it, and that's the problem is once finances go down the drain, life insurance is always the first thing to go. We all know that. That's the first thing I told in this industry, is to make sure you keep up with your clients, because guess what? If anything goes, they lose their job, they take a pay cut, whatever, life insurance is going to be the first thing to go. And so that is one of the biggest things that I would say. Do not cancel this policy without contacting me, because there is a paid up policy waiting for you that we can make happen. And then the last thing, which I think is, and this will be the last of the benefits that I give, is in most cases, if I'm visiting an agent in the home, it's because I'm close. If I'm not, if I'm calling, this doesn't really fit, but you can tailor it. So the last thing is I'm an agent. I'm here locally in your house. I'm a phone call away. I'm a drive away. I can be here to help you out with anything you need. First things being, if you ever need to update an address, update banking information, update beneficiaries, we've all called the carrier. I mean, you guys are all agents on the phone. You guys have all had to call the carriers. They're not fun to call. You wait on hold forever. You're wasting time when you could be doing stuff, and you don't want your clients to do the same thing, because that just puts a bad taste in their mouth about the carrier, about you. And the last thing you want is any bad taste, because that's one less reason that they need to cancel this policy, and you don't want that. So that's why I always leave my business card on that funeral and cremation sheet, because I want them to call me, and I make sure my cell phone's on there. I tell them it's my cell phone. I tell them you can text me no matter when it is. Just shoot me a text, call me, whenever. I will, if I don't touch base with you immediately, I will definitely get back to you within less than 24 hours. That is one thing I make sure that all my clients know. Even when I'm on vacation, guys, I'm answering. Obviously I run an agency, so not only do I have clients, I also have business partners or partners that are with us at the Personal Producer Network that are contacting me. I make that time because I know how this business works, and I know what you need to do to make this business run. And make yourself available. The last thing you need to do is put someone in a situation where they don't want to work with you, they don't want to work with the company, they don't want the policy anymore, and they want to go somewhere else. So I make myself available a lot of the time. And it's kind of why I got these receding hairlines going, but it's all worth it, guys. It's all been worth it, because I've been able to help so many clients. I've been able to help so many producers. I've been able to build a great agency that I love and that works phenomenally. And our guys are great that work with us. And I love helping them out. And that's the biggest thing that you can put in front of your clients is I'm available. I hold myself accountable to get back with you, and you can contact me for anything if you have any questions about it. And if anybody tries to come in here and tell you that I didn't give you the best products, you reach out to me. You reach out to me first, and let's talk about it, because there are a lot of things out there that are, and that's why we get a bad rap sometime in this industry. But there's a lot of people out there that don't train, that don't put the time in to do the things they need to do. And I've run across it a lot. Not only, I just actually ran across it down at, I'm going to shout out to Cody Assens and his business boot camp that I was just at, but had a client reach out to me while I was down in Florida. I have no idea how she got my name, but was sold a policy, and they're spending way more for way less coverage than they need. And I'm able to give them $1.8 million more in coverage for only $21 more in cost. And this is a term policy that I'm working with on, but I'm not going to share the company or anything, but I'm going to tell them right now, between her and her husband, they're paying $64 a month for $220,000 in coverage across for the both of them. I'm able to have them spend about $84 a month to get $1.8 million or more. That's $1 million on each of them. So that's the type of stuff that we want to make sure that doesn't happen to our clients. We want to help those clients that it has happened to. And unfortunately, that's out there. There's not a lot of people. There's not people that put a lot of time, that come into this industry, think it's easy, think they know, and they don't do the training that you guys are doing right now. They don't put the time in. They don't put the effort in to make sure that they're putting their clients in the best situation, and they're really just looking to make money, it's just sad. And it's not gonna stop, but that's what we're here for. That's why we're here today, to learn, to make sure that we know what's going on, and to put our clients in the best situation that we possibly can. So, getting back on track here, sorry, I got a little, it kind of upsets me sometimes. So I get a little heated when I talk about that, because I'm so passionate about doing the right thing for people in general, not only my clients, but producers, that I don't like when that happens. But again, getting back to the local agent, you're there, you're within it. Even people I call on the phone, I tell them, I I send them the information that I need. I send them this cremation cost. I send them this other sheet. I send them my business card. I'll shoot it over to them in an email, whatever it may be. I'll scan it in and do whatever I need to, but I put my information in their hands. So then put it on the fridge, make sure they contact me if they need anything. And the next thing, the last thing that you get into is, when they pass away, make sure that when you leave the home, one, the beneficiary is an excellent candidate for another life insurance policy, not only asking for referrals, which can be a whole nother deal, but a beneficiary can be an excellent person or family for a life insurance policy. So do not let that beneficiary go without you contacting them, because they need to know who you are as well. Not only because they may need life insurance coverage as well, but guess what? They're going to be the ones to have to contact you when that person passes away. And you want to make sure that they know who you are and that they have your business card and they have your information, and they know they can contact you at any point, whether it's text or phone call as well. So make sure that they know that. And it relieves a lot of the stress from not only the client, but also the beneficiary. So it relieves a lot of stress knowing that if something were to happen, that they know who to call and that you're going to be available and that you're going to help them. And that you're going to set them up on a path to make this smooth, whether it's updating information or whether it's taking care of a death claim, whatever it may be. You're going to be there for them. And along the lines, you're always asking, does contacting me having a paid up policy a benefit to you? Does that make sense? Yes. Wouldn't you agree? Would having me be your agent of record on your policy, a local agent that's available to contact, that wants to reach out to your beneficiary, wants to help them with life insurance, wants to make sure they know to contact, would that benefit you? Would that benefit them? Yeah, and you take that into the beneficiary conversation as well. A lot of that's basically what I run through, and then from there, the last thing, you're going to talk to them about the sale here. Now it gets time to you have your quote set up, you have what you're about to put in front of them, and you have the funeral and cremation costs. You put that in. You're probably going to get, of these things you want to ask, what is your, ask the client, put in front of them, you shoot them over the sheet. What's the most important thing that we talked about today? They're probably going to say, I don't know, if you had to choose one, what would this be? What would it be? Which one? Maybe they're going to choose the coverage lock, that they like, that the death benefit is there, for a certain period of time. And so, great. I have a policy that can do that. Let me show you some quotes here. And I always move into 3 options, guys, for your close. You want to have 3 options. And I tell you, I would say you need to have one that fits around this budget that you started out with, around the 10,000. I usually go with maybe a 15 or 20,000, depending on our conversation, based on, if they have any debt, if they, anything like that they may possibly leave behind to their family, because we want to make sure that all that's covered. That's what we want to do, is them to have 5,000 in credit card debt and their family has to come out of pocket for 5K. So we want to incorporate that in there. So those questions all come back to this, putting quotes in, and just for time's sake and for this, I may stick around this, be like, all right, let's just say 10,000 is the minimum, because this person has some debt, a little bit of mortgage, maybe a car payment, those types of things they had. So let's say, okay, so I'm going to start at 35,000 based on that, and then I'm going to run them a 20,000. And I'm going to run them at 10,000. I'm going to show them this in that order, from highest to lowest. And I want to sell based on need. I want to sell based on need. I want to present, I guess, not sell. I want to present based on need. And then I want to sell based on financial ability to afford the policy, because the last thing you want is a chargeback, and that's what we don't want. So you show them these options, and you're basing that off of what they need as far as the debt and everything you show them. And then you're presenting that to them, and you're selling them off of finance. So here's what it's going to cost for this much. Which one would work best for your financial situation. And then you have to stop. This is the hardest thing I think it is to do, is to not say a word. The first person that talks loses. That is a guarantee. I will say it every time. The first person that talks loses. If you talk first, they're going to come back, well, I don't know, I need to think about it. And then you're going to have to come up with different, you have to battle those. And last thing we want to do is try to battle those. Just sit there. Look at the sheet. Look at them. Don't say another word, not another peep, nothing. Maybe take a drink of water if you think about talking. Whatever it is, do not say another word. Make them talk first. And half the time we already know. I mean, I know at this point, half will take this primary funeral health, half will take the second choice. There's not a lot that take the top choice, which that's fine. Again, we want to present based on their need. We want to sell based on their financial responsibility, because we want to keep the policy on the books. From there, once they choose one, because they will, if you sit there for long enough, and sometimes you'll get those guys that you got to rebuttal. And, that's a whole nother spiel that we can go into on, I want to think about it, or, it's just too much. But, if you get those rebuttals, then honestly, and I get them sometimes, but you just didn't do a good enough job selling. You have to then now battle the rebuttals and come up with ways to, but you walked them through a lot of that stuff. So it gives you the right then to ask, if they do come back with those things, I just don't know. I need to think about, well, what do you need to think about? Is it the locked in death benefit? Is it the, what is it? What is it that you need to think about? That way you get them to express, again, to engage with you on what they need to think about. And don't let them walk away with, I don't know. Be like, well, I feel like I didn't do my job today. If it's, I don't know, give me something that I can go back and that we can talk about. Because I feel like I explained the death benefit. I explained the product coverages, what kind of riders you can have. I feel like I explained everything. What do you need to think about? And try to get them to answer that. And some, it's going to be a kind of a battle in some cases. And it can be very easy. They can be very open, but you guys have to be prepared for that as well. You can't come in thinking it's going to be easy. You got to be prepared for those things as well. So always make sure you're prepared with your rebuttals, with your stuff to answer those questions. I can't afford it right now. I need to think about it. I need my spouse to be involved. Wouldn't your spouse, wouldn't this protect your spouse from having the financial burden, putting that stringent on them if they're losing your income? If you pass away, wouldn't that be a benefit to them? Wouldn't they be happy that you're trying to protect them? And then, that was one of the rebuttals you could, say to that. It's off the top of my head. But again, once they pick, if they choose, we go through a perfect scenario. They choose, let's say they choose the $10,000 one. Excellent choice. Let's see if we can get you approved. What's your name and date of birth? And you start in right with that. You're ready to go with the application. You have it pulled up and you're ready to go. And you walk right through the presentation. You start asking the questions, finish the app, and you get it submitted. And guys, that's basically what I do when I get into the home. I know this will probably take a good 5 minutes, so hopefully we have time. I know we're long, but hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. I've seen the comments come in. I appreciate you guys that are watching, that are sharing. It's been awesome. I haven't got any questions, so I don't know if Tony's waiting until the end, or if he was to let me roll with it. But I'll get through this, and I got one more thing. If you're good, Tony, I can share. But all right, we're good. Still good on time. All right. So I talked to you guys about actionable content that you can use. Here's how easy it is to get 100K in life insurance sales. It's easy if you just do it. But you got to remember, you have to do it. It isn't going to come to you unless you're making the calls, you send the appointments. So I'm basing this off of final expense. So how I train some of our guys and how I do it myself, and this can vary depending on how much you want to make, but to make the 100K a year, I say always 20 leads a week. If you can put 20 leads in your hands per week, you have definitely an opportunity to make 100K. So I'm looking at that cost. So I can, we have different costs for leads. I can get some internal transfers for about $15 a piece, which is super cheap. Obviously then we do lead mailers, which I believe is probably the best because you get a card, you get all that information. And they're running about 550 a week. I'm going about 550 with the lead source that I have. When you look at that, if you go off the $15 per lead times 20, that's $300 a week that you're spending on leads. Over the course of a year, it's going to be just over $15,500 in a yearly cost for leads. If you're looking at the 550, to get the 20 leads, you're probably going to have to put 2,000 lead mailers in. You're probably going to come close to that. Take that times 52. That's per week that you want to put those in your hand. That's about 57,000 you're going to spend in leads. So it can vary depending on what you do. But off 20 leads, telling you guys, if you're just getting into this, just making the calls and doing it, you're gonna run into 2 or 3 that just want life insurance. They don't even need to be sold. They just want life insurance. There might be 2 more you have to sell, 2 or 3 more you have to sell. So if you can get 5, all you need is out of those 20, if you get a quarter of the people to sit down with you, and or more. I mean, probably you're getting 10. You're probably getting 10 actually. I mean, even you're gonna get 10 to agree, probably 8 to 10 to agree to this. But if you can make 5 sales out of that 20, that at an average premium of what I see at final expenses, it's between 60 and 80. So I took the median at $70 a month. You're looking at I'm basing this off 115% commission, which is probably around what you should be getting if you're in the final expense world. Even if you're new starting out, you're probably right close around there, maybe 105, 110, but more likely 115 with most of the carriers. If you do that, you take 70 times 12, it's $840. And I'll go slow if you guys need. Sorry, I wanted to use this marker board back here, but when I got on, Tony's like, I can't read that even with my glasses on. So I was like, screw it, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to give this to you guys, and hopefully you can write it down. But going off that annual premium or average premium of $70 a month times 12 is $840. That's your commission. $840 times 115% puts you at $966. That's your total commission over a 12-month period. Now, most of you probably are on a 75% advance, somewhere around there. So I took it off a 75% advance. On that one sale, you're making $725 a sale. If you take that $725 and times it by 5, so you make 5 sales per week, it's $3,625 a week that you're bringing in immediately. Now, you do have your back end, your 10, 11, and 12 month. It'll come later. But initially, you're coming in, and what we're going off of, and this is, again, all I'm basing this off of is the advances. I'm not even counting in the amount that you're making as earned on the 10th, 11th, and 12th month from these policies. So if you take that 3,625 and you multiply it by 52 weeks in a year, and that is if you're working every week, you're going to make $188,500 in advance commissions. So again, it's not including the trail commission of 3 months. So $188,000. And I even did it for some of you guys that I guess take weeks off and stuff. Do you guys still do that? I mean, as an agent, so I even did the calculations for some of you guys that take weeks off, and I did it for 48 weeks out of the year, you're making $174K. If you work 44 weeks out of the year and do this, you're making $157,500. And if you're only working 40 weeks out of the year, you're still making $145,000 a year. Now, again, if you're doing the transfer leads for $15 a lead, you're making over $130,000 a year just on advanced commission. Even if you take off chargebacks in there, and let's say you have $20K in chargebacks, even with the cost of that and $20K in chargebacks, you're still making $110,000. You're still over $100,000. Even that's if you're working 40 weeks a year. Now, if you do that 40 weeks and you're spending $57,000 plus chargebacks on that, you're going to be lower than. But I don't see most of us only working 40 weeks. I mean, if you treat this like a job, I mean, if you go into the corporate world, you're probably getting 2 weeks, maybe maximum for vacation. So I'm giving you leeway of 48. That's taking 4 weeks vacation throughout the year. And you're still making 174, which puts you at the 57,000 plus a little bit of chargebacks, 20,000 in chargebacks. You're still making maybe just shy of 100,000, basically. That's if you're only buying those leads. I mean, if you trade it off and you're doing some of the lead mailers, but to fill in, you're doing some transfers 1 week, you're going to obviously offset your cost there. It's going to be a little bit less than that. And so, like I said, I minused it out. If you do the 188.5, that's working 52 weeks a year, you're doing 131,000 and $131,300 in profits. And then again, you minus the chargebacks because you're going to have them. They're going to happen. They even happen to the best of us. But again, that's based on everybody working. And again, if you're not going to work 1 week, maybe you double up. Maybe you buy 40 leads and try to make 10 sales in 1 week. It's not. I mean, Johnny. I know Johnny's on here. I think the dude just did like 25K in sales in 1 week. So it can be done, guys. It can be done. So you can double up where you can get more vacation weeks, and that way you're making up for that initial and those sales that you're missing out on when you're taking that vacation with your family. And again, this is why we got in this industry: more time, more money. Treat it like a full-time job, and you will have more time in your life, and you'll have more money than I think you ever would have made it at a full-time job. And I can guarantee that. But you have to treat it like that. And as I said before, you're going to have to work. This wasn't easy for me when I started out, and it won't be easy for you. But if you stick with it, find that right mentor that won't let you quit like I did, you can make it a very lucrative career. And Tony, I know that we have like 9 minutes left. I have a few other nuggets, but I'm going to save them for next time. So
yeah, save them for next time. We got to respect these people's time and your own. I know you got stuff to do. I certainly have things to do. I want to try to always keep this right in an hour. But great job, and certainly thank you. Everybody out there, give them a little virtual applause for our first. Yeah, helping me bring the show in. I really appreciate you coming out and doing that. A lot of the stuff you said was absolutely beautiful content that we can continue to build on. We'll definitely have you back to kind of go further on some of those items. But yeah, guys, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday. Just to kind of give you all a little heads up, Joe and I have some serious ideas for where we're taking the content that we're delivering out in the syndicate. Obviously we want to keep it transparent. We want to keep it fluid. We want to keep it high engagement, high value for you guys. So this specific show, Tuesday trainings, I'm here to host it, but I'm going to have all kinds of people like Jeremiah coming through the show. While he's been going, I've been sitting here getting my featured guest list ready. I'll just go ahead and throw out a few names for you. We're going to have Patrice Shepard next week. We got Greg Gerbikian in the lineup. We have amazing. Michael Newton in the lineup. I mean, talking about disrupting and being transparent, like putting me and Michael Newton on the same show together. Yeah, that's coming on the 27th, it looks like. I got him on the hook for it, so I'm calling him out. And we even got the mad Russian Michael Benyaminov in the lineup deep for October. So I've got some great people coming. We're going to bring some phenomenal guests on here to teach you guys again. This is actionable content that you can put in your game, improve your skill set, write more business, more efficiently run your business, grow your business. So get excited. This isn't any mindset, hooky, spooky stuff. This is just stuff that you can take home and immediately use to take action now. That's the theme. So thank everybody for coming. Jeremiah, thank you for popping in and training up the group. And
thanks, guys. Thanks for having me, Tony. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next Tuesday for Tuesday training. Y'all have a great week.
Have a great week. See ya.